Good morning, GM, everybody. Happy Monday morning to you. As you can probably guess, today it is literally all about this war and the oil crisis stuff. Let me check my. You can probably guess. Okay, looks like we're working over here. Try out the chat here, little GM. Back at it. Okay, good, man. So we are, like I say, as you can guess, let me just, before we start, take 1 minute and take a look over here, make sure we're working on YouTube, and then we'll get going here. But yeah, as predicted, I should say, Friday, we predicted Friday. We didn't predict, but said we definitely need to keep an eye out for potential Trump to do his thing on it. If there was such a big buildup, right? Such a massive buildup. It seemed like it was not only had all the warship planes flying over there that do the refueling. It just seemed like too big of a buildup for nothing to happen. And indeed, we see that's what happened Monday morning. Saturday morning, rather, we had a attack on Iran, both Israel and the U.S., and then, of course, Bitcoin reacted, but it's kind of leveled out. But what we have to keep in mind is we're here 24/7. For the rest of the world, the other markets are just going to react here minutes when the markets actually open for the first time. GM, everyone. Looks like my Twitter feed is finally working again with the software I'm using. So that's nice. And it saves it, and I can add a thumbnail and stuff. So see everyone over there on X. And let's keep in mind that the rest of the world is only reacting. Here in crypto, we've already had our thing. We've already done our thing. We dropped down and then kind of, we're able to digest what was going on. And real quick check screen. It seems to be working. Okay. Anyway, keep in mind the rest of the world is just digesting what's happening now, right? It's almost like, hey, we've been living this now, going on our third day. The world just kind of on, not watching it, watching your bags go up and down as things happen. But as you can see, the NASDAQ is looking to open 1.5% in the red. Now, it's rare that the traditional tanks and crypto does with it. So I'm a little, even though we've kind of had our ups and downs and we're stabilized. In fact, this is correct. If we look over at Bitcoin here, I was just noticing we're pretty flat for the week. More. So it looks like, let's look in the hour. Looks like, yeah, okay. Well, I guess we're down 1% for the week. It was only 0.3 before I started the show, but gone down a little bit. But yeah, we're down 0.3 for the week, 2% for the day. But, compared, if you look at the week, we're at 65. We dropped all the way down into the 62s, just below 63. So we're up $2,500 from the worst of it on Saturday morning. So anyway, we've kind of digested it. We've reacted, but the rest of the market hasn't. So as we go over here and we take a look at the futures, now 8 minutes away. So we're down all across the board over 1%, 1.5% for the NASDAQ. We'll pull up the Dow. And so they haven't had a chance to react. So I think I predicted last night, I did a little post on TikTok. I guess I probably didn't do it on X or YouTube. Predicted that went up, kind of down and opened up down and got worse last night. They opened up down about half a point. Now they're looking at 3. So when the market opens here in 7 minutes, we'll see. See, even the Dow is down. The Dow is down 1%, 1.5%. The NASDAQ. Pull up the S&P, but this is their first chance to react. And unfortunately, we know what happens is when the traditional market tanks, it tends to take us down with it. So not what we want to see, but it's probably what's going to happen. But I anticipate, the first hour or two might be a little choppy, and then maybe it'll kind of stabilize. We'll see. It does look, though, Trump came out and said we could be in this 4 weeks. Unfortunately, looks like 3 service members, U.S. members, were killed. And I don't know if that's clear, if that was they were part of the attack group or they were hit with one of the bases in one of the other countries that was hit. And then, of course, obviously it's far worse for anyone who is in the middle of this. Not only innocent people in Iran getting potentially collateral damage, as well as we see people in Dubai, friends in crypto here. A lot of our friends, a good percentage of our friends, over in Dubai, and they're seeing missiles flying around. And most of them seem to be getting intercepted, but it's crazy. It's crazy that Iran chose to attack all their Muslim countries next to them, which typically would have been on the fence or on their side, at least as far as you giving it lip service. And now they've kind of turned against them in action. Also, listen, the big thing here is oil. Oil up. When I saw it, 7%. Gold and silver up over 2%. Let me see if I can find oil one here. Obviously, the big news is, of course, the Straits of Hormuz. 20% of the world's oil goes through there, and that is basically shut down for all intents and purposes. Very narrow little strait there, although I did see that the U.S. and Israel had already taken out a good percentage of their crude oil up almost 8% here. So that's crazy. Gold. Well, silver looks like it's actually dipped a quarter point, but it was up over 2 over yesterday. Thing opened again, but crude oil here up almost 8%. So we'll talk about the news here. We got the market open in 5 minutes, but let's go look at not doing too bad on the weekly, down 1% for the week, but you really have to look at the weekly chart and take into consideration what happened. I'll look at the weekly chart on all these. Got all the way down to below 63. Now, though, down 1% for the week, sitting at 65,474. Ethereum, same thing. Let's look at the weekly chart. Down a little less than 1%, doing a little worse than Bitcoin on the daily, almost 4%. Could not hold on that 2,000, but got down all the way down to 1912. XRP, down quite a bit for the week, 3% for the week, 3.1% for the day, 133, but it got down to, we're actually, let's see how low we got on the weekly. We got down to $1.28. So XRP faring a little worse, but it tends to do that, tends to be a little more volatile up, down. And let's take a look at Solana. Solana was doing a little better over the weekend. Looking on the weekly chart, it's actually up 3.7%. It's Saturday of 76.20. Well, actually, that was last week, all the way up to 90. It looks like down to around $78 after the initial strike. So up for the week, down 3% for the day, currently sitting at 83.19. So I would say crypto, we'll see what happens, though. We'll keep an eye on this. We'll keep an eye on this chart, see if we take another big dip, or keep in mind we're at 65.5 basically. Let's hit a little news where we wait for the markets to open. Obviously, these large scale and pounded by the U.S. and Israel taking it too. I haven't been following it blow by blow in Iran. They're, obviously, like the last thing, what happened with that 12-day war. GM, by the way, welcome everyone to a Monday morning, a war has defenses, which is kind of that happened. I think that was seen. So now Israel and the U.S. Hitting Iran hard, but Iran still being able to have a fair amount of retaliation as well, with all their neighbors who they border with or very close to. Of course, we know over the weekend, very early on, the Ayatollah, who's been there for like what? Most of my lifetime, like 37, 47 years, some crazy amount of time. He was taken out, obviously part of the and well with 80, 90% of the government. And then they appointed this new guy, and looks like if these reports are true, he only lasted about 3 hours before he was taken out as well. So people won't be signed for that job, I'm sure. The hope is, of course, that the Iranian people can take over and get some new leadership. Gas prices surging 2%. I've heard, after I saw this slide just before the show, I saw it could be as high as 50% as well already in the UK. Overnight, gas prices surging, and because so much of, like I say, 20% of the world's oil supply comes from the Straits of Hormuz, which is in essence shutting down. But it gets a little worse than that, because what's happened is Iran's been pretty effective with some of their countermeasures here. Yeah, 22%, and then 42%. Now I'm hearing as this was a big blow. An Iranian drone, Aramco refinery in Tanura, which is a major oil refinery for Saudi Arabia. So they have since joined the war against Iran. So I don't know what Iran's strategy is here. It doesn't seem really smart, but they are doing some damage for sure. Maybe that's it. Maybe this is like, let's inflict all that we can. So it's definitely leaking out into other countries, which didn't really happen in the 12-day war. Saudi Arabia, now they announced America in the war against Iran. So this is interesting. They've I have another news piece on a bunch of countries have come out now against Iran. So, I mean, this is the big news, obviously, of the day and of the week, probably. And like I say, Trump came out and said it could be brace for it could be as long as 4 weeks. So, of these attacks, these strikes. So interesting. Obviously, they need to degrade Iran's ability to send out all these drone and missile strikes, because they're wreaking havoc on the rest of the region. But let's go back. Let's go back and let's see where we're at here. Market's just opening. These pages are a little slow to refresh anyway, so it'll take us a minute. Let's go over there and give it a minute or two here to kind of settle in. Not a ton of crypto news. There is some, of course, some good news, but by what's happening in the crude oil up 8%. It's crazy. Be as affected here in America. Of course, we will be somewhat, but we're now much more under Trump, much more energy independent here. And also we have now millions of barrels in Venezuela as well. Venezuelan oil is not going overseas. China could see a real crisis here too. They, of course, came out in support of Iran, one of their strategic partners. But so basically, not as bad as we originally thought, but still opened up little right around 1% down. Looks like the Dow is about the same. The big question for us here in the crypto world is if and when Bitcoin starts acting like a reserve asset or an uncorrelated asymmetric asset, and not like a risk asset, because now gold and silver have proven themselves as a hedge against global instability. Bitcoin as yet has not. Bitcoin is still exactly like a high risk asset, and not a very good one on the short term, but on the long term, very good. And you know, if you really want for when they're getting top silver, they are already higher maybe, but they're way closer to a top than they are a bottom. Bitcoin's way closer to a bottom than they are a top. So that's not bad. A little bit had any reaction 3 minutes in with Bitcoin. Actually, a little bit of a spike up to 66,000. So what this shows, at least in the short term, at least in the 4 minutes that the market's been open, is Bitcoin already kind of was able to react over the weekend. Like I say, dropped down on the weekly all the way down to, well, on the weekly, we dropped all the way down to below 63. And now we're back to 66. So if we just look at the hourly here, you see this spike since the market opened. So Bitcoin is actually doing fairly well. And we haven't seen much of this, maybe due to some of the Jane Street and other market manipulation that was happening. Hopefully most of that's behind us. But so, yeah, Bitcoin rips above the 66. See how Ethereum's doing? Ethereum spiked up 1948, up 0.6. You see that spike. I'm now looking at the hourly chart to be clear. See how XRP is doing. Same thing. XRP about the same. So crypto was anticipating it. Shows you it was already kind of baked in, and crypto was actually reacting good for a change. 84.19 in Salon percent since the market opened. So yeah, interesting. It's about time. This is kind of what we expect, especially since we've had 2.5 days to react to it, right? So nice to see Bitcoin. Maybe shows you once again we're getting closer to a bottom than maybe some people believe. Wow, I mean, I would say, going back to Bitcoin here, for Bitcoin now flat for the week. Let's see, Solana. Solana's up 5% for the week. 2.5% down for the week for XRP. Ethereum up 2% for the week. And what was Solana? Up 5%. And Bitcoin now flat for the week. I would say this is showing some decent strength. I'm actually okay with this. Actually showing a little bit of a strength. Everything. Now, how prolonged is this? They're kind of preparing us for 2 to 4 weeks. Nobody likes war. Nobody likes uncertainty. But what we've noticed recently, and we see this here, is that we react and digest it pretty quickly in the crypto markets. So I would say this is pretty decent. Pretty decent. I didn't know. There's no reason that crypto should be getting taken down with the traditional digested it in 3 days. As of late, that's kind of come to expect, and that didn't happen here. If we look once again at the hourly chart, you can see this 66,261. We're actually gaining some momentum. So Bitcoin, as a risk asset, as it's treated at, has not yet shown its full potential as a kind of a hedge against global uncertainty, as gold and silver has. Hopefully one day that happens. I believe it will. I'm buying gold. I'm buying Bitcoin here, not gold and silver. But then you already knew that. But anyway, yeah, I say fairly optimistic seeing this, given everything else. Take one more look back here at, let's say, overall market here. Yeah, so Bitcoin's behaving nicely for a change. Knock on wood. We'll see. Once again, it's early to tell. We're only 8 minutes into the trading day. Thank you for joining me on Opening Bell Crypto. I'm here Monday through Friday, streaming live on X, where we have followers. Good to see all our friends, family, and friends over there on YouTube and Rumble, which I'm fairly new to. And I'm almost got enough followers. I'll be live streaming this over on TikTok as well, just to reach some more people. But appreciate everyone joining me, showing support. And these are perilous times overall. Gold still, by the way, up 2.25%. Let me look real quick at that silver. I swear I saw silver was down. Earlier, silver was up 2.5%. Just looking over on the side here. Yeah, silver's down. Well, silver down 3.5%. So silver shows to be not as quite a silver seems to be. Silver had that 40% drop a few weeks ago over a 2-day period. Showed itself to be a little more Bitcoin even. Crude oil, I think, was still up almost. Still self much more stable than silver. S&P still down. Nasdaq still down 0.5, 0.19. S&P here down about 0.75%. So but still dipped a little bit, still 6260. There we have essence. We obviously on and now it's becoming more of a regional conflict. Israel and U.S. Massive air. So now they're probably doing everything they can to take out their missile sites and things. I even saw maybe some B-2 bombers were involved, some stealth bombers, which are probably well protected under the ground. But they're doing a fair job of striking back. A little bit of a pump now. Bitcoin 66,350. Bitcoin surprisingly well here, showing some as P kind of the information. Performing great, but again, realize crypto already had a chance to kind of doing the 356 up almost literally positive weeks. So I would say big test. We're getting out of this I'm actually pretty impressed with Bitcoin, but oil is another is looming large. The other shipping companies, Mazurk, I think how you say it, second largest shipping company in the Wave Sea stall. They're not Straits of Hormuz either, because with all bombs flying around there, and people are actually fleeing Dubai. I just saw flights starting to leave, I believe, out of Abu Dhabi and over there, though statistically it's still a lot safer than being in a large city in America or Europe for sure. So anyway, the Saudis oil taking a big hit. That's not good. Not good. And now they've of course joined in the war there. So that's what's this here too halts production of natural gas. They actually take natural gas, liquefy it to condense it, and they're able. You see one of these. You see this boat here. carrying tanks, liquefied natural gas, which a lot of things can run on. They provide 18 to 20%, but they had drones hit facility and halted production. So if you're just joining us, NASDAQ futures looked to open down 1.5%, 2%. They opened up not quite that bad. Bitcoin and crypto actually doing good, actually flat for the week. We kind of digested it all over the weekend. And unlike the last few months or ever since October, the market opened down, traditional market opened down, and we actually opened up. So finally, Bitcoin and crypto showing a little strength. Once again, maybe more of a indicator that we're at a bottom, we've seen a bottom, or we're near a bottom. I don't know which one of those three is true. Nobody does. Keep that in mind when you're listening to people. I've been here for 15 years. I've been investing in the traditional stock market 40 plus years. And all we can do is kind of use our best judgment. Look at the trends. We're still in a bearish trend. I've been saying that since we lost the 50-week moving average on Bitcoin. We have been in a bearish trend. I'm not quite ready to say that we've seen a bottom. But we've now gone down and tested that 60,000 twice, and both times. And now we have one of the other things we were talking about, global conflict. We knew this was a shoe that could drop. We said it the last 2 Fridays, and this week it actually came true. And we are now, there is a war going on in the Middle East, and looks like it could go 2 to 4 weeks. But I believe the market's digesting it pretty well. Crypto's holding up good, but oil is going to cause there's going to be some massive repercussions. They need to get this resolved as soon as they can, especially all these missiles flying Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, all these other places. So we have what we have. If you're just joining us, we have a massive oil refinery taken offline in Saudi Arabia, and also a massive LNG production site, liquid natural gas taken out of production. And you can see this stuff is highly volatile. It's like a dang bomb, right? These highly concentrated by the cold and highly flammable. So of course, yeah, these are just you don't want to have you don't want to be around one of these with all these drones and missiles flying. Fear and greed still at 10, extreme fear. Like I say, one of my favorite macro indicators. I personally like to play the fear and greed index. I'm a buyer here at Bitcoin. I'm doing some different things. I'm trading a lot of grid bots over on BitUnex with my long-term Solana bag. I trade some grid bots with no leverage, made about 2% the latter part of last week. So I'll take that. I'll put it. My whole purpose of doing that is to get, take advantage of some of this sideways action and take advantage of buy some more Bitcoin. I will be posting some content on how to play those. I do think it's a pretty rarely low risk way to play the sideways action, that we see in Solana. Overall, performing good. Now, this, like I said, I don't know what Iran was thinking other than let's just cause much damage as we can. But now the U.S., UAE, which is United Arab Emirates, which is, of course, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, Jordan, Kuwait, they issued a joint statement. We condemn Israel's attacks and have a right to defend ourselves. Saudi Arabia has actually officially joined the war with the United States. These guys are, catching some strays here, and it's not good. And it's going to, so obviously the missile counter strike capabilities, I'm sure, is the main focus of Israel and U.S. So they can't be inflicting this damage. Obviously, they're not going to do anything. The U.S., however, there was a terror attack in Austin, Texas. A Iranian sympathizer killed a few people and tried to shoot up a bar outside in Austin, Texas. So, yeah, it's becoming the conflict is unlike the 12-day war. It's now leaked out to its neighbors, and it's affecting LNG and gas production. Of course, I think the U.S. has already sunk, I think, of the Navy ships, and they're going to do everything they can because they don't want them to be able to terrorize people there in the Straits of Hormuz, which is 20% of the world's global oil supply. Now, foreign central banks now hold more gold than treasuries for the first time in 30 years. What does this mean to us in the crypto world? Well, I'll tell you what it means. It means that stable coins are the thing that's going to keep the dollar's dominance and keep it as the primary world's reserve currency, right? So it means Trump has to be crypto friendly, has to get this legislation passed, because all these dollar pegged companies like Tether, USDC, the Trump's own coin, as well as Ripple's RLUSD, I believe, all of those will be buying treasuries to peg themselves to the stable coin. So if we're sitting back and saying, what's the play? We know how important stable coins are. That means Trump has to lock this up and get this legislation passed, which is a good thing for Bitcoin, altcoins, L1s, XRP, yada, yada, yada. You name what coins you like. Pepe, all the way down to Landwolf and some of the other smaller cap ones. So this is important. This is good for us because this leaves Trump with no other choice but to get that legislation passed, clarity, and America has to become ones. We're going to benefit greatly from this. So to me, that's bullish for us here in the crypto world. Now, if you want to see, once again, this was from our guy Ash Crypto over there. When the markets open, both gold and silver jumped 2 to 2.5%. In 60 minutes, gold and silver added in 62 billion, almost $1 trillion to their market cap. Now let's go over here and check another look. Looks like Bitcoin. Let's let it refresh here. Yeah, Bitcoin. Wow, Bitcoin's really ripping. So Bitcoin doing its job for a change, almost at 67,000. But let's look at the market cap for Bitcoin. It's only $1.34 trillion. It's only $1.34 trillion. Over here, we had in a single hour, and silver added almost $1 trillion. Right? So if it shows you how potential there is for Bitcoin, this makes me very bullish, right? Now, silver has proved to be much more volatile than gold, and it's retraced. It's actually in the negative, I think 3.5% or something like that. Whatever we just looked at, I don't even remember. But gold is still up 2.5%. But gold is just to say it, because nobody knows for sure. No one ever knows for sure. Gold and silver can still continue to go up. But gold and silver are much closer to a top than a bottom. Bitcoin, much closer to a bottom, if not at a bottom. You could say that gold and silver might have already capped out, and they might have already topped out for the near term. And we can say that Bitcoin may have already bottomed out for a near term. So this makes me bullish, as does the everything to do with gold and silver, a hard asset, of which I believe Bitcoin is a better hard asset than gold and silver. So my money's going into gold. Now we have the idea of tokenized gold. Our boy Sosbo here, my good friend from X, said, GM, tokenized gold proved itself a rock solid store of value over the last 6 months. Absolutely. Bitcoin is not acting like a store of value. Bitcoin is acting like like I said, a risk on asset, and not a very good one over the last year. But blockchain and crypto as a whole, and I will be buying some tokenized gold, probably be buying the Tether's tokenized gold here. Let's see what that is. If it's showing here, it should be up today, right? Because it just goes up when gold goes up. Where are we at here? Though we're seeing some strength here in the altcoin market as well. Jupiter 5.7. I'll take that. Near protocol. I saw some news of Near up 11.5. Arbitrage 4.8. 2.8. Aave 0.3. Bonk 1.7. Pump 2.3. Pungu. Wow, Chili's, man. I made a lot of money on Chili's. Seemed like some solid tech. I don't know. I haven't looked into it much since I got out of my position, but it's up. Say another kind of layer one. Tau. I don't know where. You know what? Let's look at it down here on the. See if we can find it here. I don't know what the ticker is. There it is. Tether Gold. Of course, it's down. I guess a little. I guess gold is retraced a little, but Tether Gold sitting at number 31. 3 billion, just it's hitting $3 billion in assets under. So gold's obviously dropped off, but yeah, gold, that's what I'll be buying. It's housed, of course, with any kind of RWA or tokenization. If it's not native to the blockchain, you of course have it over there. You have third-party risk, but yeah, look at Bitcoin looking good on the daily chart, looking even better on the hour. Up there wants to test 6. Oh, it looks like we did get over 67. So very good news. Very good news. I'll take that. So Bitcoin finally doing its job. Yeah. Look at both. I think even Kathy Wood saying you should be selling your gold and Bitcoin. Kathy was, of course, ARK Investment. I'm buying Bitcoin because we're way closer to a bottom. CEO, they had a this one often a good contributor to our GM Bitcoin morning show over the last 4 years. A big player in the traditional money market, manager for most of his life. Also an entrepreneur, owns a bunch of businesses. Really smart dude. He posted this. I know he spent a lot of time talking to the Steak and Shake guys. I chatted with him as well at the Bitcoin conference. Starting March 1st, all hourly Steak and Shake employees earn a Bitcoin bonus of 21 cents per hour. So if you work 10 hours, you get $2.10 worth of Bitcoin for that day. In addition, as just a bonus. Now, what happens if that Bitcoin goes up 100 times, right? Goes to $1 million or goes to, several $1 million, $10 million. So keep that in mind. That's not just 21 cents an hour. That could be worth more than what you made. So really cool thing that they're doing out there. Hit the rest of the news here, and then we'll jump back. MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor, Giga Chad, Michael Saylor bought another $204.1 million worth, actually grabbed another 3,015 Bitcoin at an average price of $67,700. They now hold 720,737 Bitcoin. So just another $200 million buy by the Giga Chad, Michael Saylor, buying the dip, not worried about the FUD, not worried about all the talk. China, of course, came out in support of Iran. Of course, they're one of their allies. They get a lot of their gas from there. This might not bode well for China. I don't think they're going to get involved in anything, but at least they came out and said they support, as did Pakistan. There was quite a few riots there. I think like 9 people got killed in the anti-American riots there in Pakistan. So, of course, these countries, and they would have had all these other countries too, but they decided to bomb them instead, that at least would have been neutral. BlackRock's iShare Core, MSCI Japan, IMI, whatever ETF that they bought. They disclosed that they bought $1.27 million worth of Meta Planets. So They're doing that. That's significant, right? Token, but significant. Pretty soon, think about it. Why am I bullish on Bitcoin? Every country, every state, every company, every fund, every strategic reserve, every family office, every large retirement fund will all own Bitcoin. And it may start at 1 or 2%, and eventually it could hit 10, 15, 20%. We're early. It's a great time to be buying Bitcoin. That's why we're here. Charting wealth comes up oftentimes as speaker contributor to the GM Bitcoin. Fine, everything is fine. We've talked about it. You know, in America now, 4.8% of all household debt is now delinquent, the highest overall delinquency rate in nearly a decade. So we have people defaulting on credit cards, people defaulting on their homes, people defaulting on car loans. So what's the answer to this? Buy Bitcoin, in my opinion. But there are some the world economy, there's some underlying weakness. Good time to buy Bitcoin. Our guy, Anthony Pompagnolo, ProCap Pomp here on X, ProCap Financial, they bought 450 Bitcoin, raising their holdings to 5,457 Bitcoin and becoming the 19th largest public Bitcoin holder. So these guys are actively financial. A bomb hit today. Iranian missiles hit Amazon's main Middle East data center and it went offline. 12 hours later, second data center in UAE just lost power. Bahrain also hit. AWS Bahrain now offline. Localized power issues. AWS officially told customers to fall over to other regions. Don't rely on the Middle East infrastructure. Remember, Anthropic runs on AWS. Claude was using Iran strikes. Iran is now retaliating. So anyway, maybe you need to put more stuff on the blockchain. Last but not least, a little hopium here, Flipper. Only one other time did we ever hit 5 consecutive red months. And after that happened, 5 or 6 months of green candles. So a little hopium there. Last on Bitcoin. Let's see how we're doing. Let it refresh here. 67,142. We're up 2.6% since I started this show. Bitcoin finally performing like it's supposed to. Thank you, Evan, for joining me. Feel free to jump over on the GM Bitcoin morning show if you want. But it's like we're off to a running start. Bitcoin performing as it's meant to. Crypto as well. We'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully this saved you some time. You're able to find out what happened when you were sleeping and get a little bit of insight. Thanks, everyone, for joining us live. We will see you